Welcome to the channel. Today's story will take you deep into the forest, where silence has meaning, shadows have memory, and not everyone comes back. This is I'm Never Going Camping Again, a horror tale that blurs the line between fear and fate. If you enjoy spine-chilling stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for more nightmares. Now, let the darkness begin. Just out of college, taking one last break before real life started. We packed light, tents, snacks, firewood, and a speaker to blast music. Jake had picked the campsite, said it was remote, near a lake, totally off-grid. No cell service, he bragged. Perfect place to unwind. The drive was long, twisting mountain roads and dense trees pressing in from both sides. By the time we got there, the sun was dipping low. The place looked untouched, silent. Too silent. Chris joked, "This looks like a murder documentary waiting to happen." We laughed it off. We should have listened. By nightfall, the fire was going, marshmallows, beer, dumb ghost stories. Everything felt normal, until Jake wandered off to pee. He didn't come back. At first, we thought he was messing with us. Jake loved pranks, always had, hiding in closets, jumping out of dark corners, the usual. But this time, 10 minutes passed, then 20. "Jake!" we called. No answer. We grabbed flashlights and started searching. The woods were quiet, too quiet. Even the crickets had gone silent. Then we found Jake's flashlight, still on, lying on the ground. No sign of him. No footsteps, no drag marks, just his flashlight in the dirt, pointing nowhere. We shouted until our throats were raw. Luke even fired a flare into the sky. Nothing. We called 911. No signal. We hiked up the ridge where we'd seen one bar of service earlier in the day. Still nothing. That night, we huddled in the tent, barely sleeping. Every twig snap made us jump. Every gust of wind felt like whispering. Morning came. Still no Jake. We debated whether to hike back to the car and drive for help. But none of us wanted to leave in case Jake returned. So we stayed. Big mistake, because around noon, we heard Jake's voice in the woods. Faint. "Guys, help." We ran toward it, screaming his name. But the voice always stayed just out of reach. "Guys, over here." It led us deeper into the forest. We ran for what felt like miles. Then the voice stopped. We were lost. Worse, when we turned around, the trail was gone. Just trees. In silence. We were officially lost. No trail, no markers, no idea which way we came. Luke kept swearing under his breath. Chris was trying not to panic, but I could see the fear building in his eyes. "Let's just retrace our steps," I said. But there were no steps. The ground behind us was smooth, undisturbed, like we hadn't walked it just minutes before. We turned in circles, checked trees for markings. Nothing helped. Eventually, we picked a direction and walked. For hours. No sign of the camp. No lake, just deeper woods. Then it got cold, fast. The sun was still out, but the air felt like it dropped 20 degrees in minutes. I pulled my hoodie tighter, but it didn't help much. And then we saw it. A clearing up ahead, with something in the center. A tent. Not ours. It was old, faded, ripped, like it had been there for years, covered in moss. The fabric flapped gently in the wind, but it didn't collapse. There were footprints outside. Multiple. Different sizes. Some barefoot. Some wrong. Too long. Too thin. We froze. Chris whispered, "Is that Jake's?" "No," I said. "That's not ours." Luke stepped forward and called out, "Hello?" No answer. He moved closer. "Luke, don't," I said. He pulled open the flap. The inside was dark. Too dark for midday. Like the light refused to go in. He stuck his head inside, then jerked back. "What?" Chris asked. Luke didn't answer. He just stared. I looked in. The tent was bigger on the inside, way bigger, like a room, a cabin, wooden floor, old furniture, even a fireplace, a mirror on the far wall, cracked straight down the middle. It was impossible. We backed away. That's when we heard footsteps, fast, all around us. We turned in every direction, but saw nothing. The sound circled us, crunching leaves, snapping twigs. Then it stopped. We held our breath. Then, "Guys?" Jake's voice again, soft, afraid, coming from behind a tree. We ran over. Nobody there. Just scratch marks, deep ones, gouged into the bark, 4 long claws. And below them, a symbol carved into the wood, like an eye or a door. We didn't know it yet, but that was the first time we saw its mark. The hollow had found us. We ran. Didn't talk. Didn't think. Just moved. Branches whipped our faces. Roots tried to trip us. The forest blurred. We finally stopped by a small stream, gasping, sweating. "What the hell was that?" Chris said, pacing. "I don't know," Luke muttered. But that voice, it wasn't Jake. It sounded like Jake, but only at first. There was a tone underneath, like someone trying too hard to copy something they didn't fully understand. We agreed to stay by the stream. At least it was a landmark. We had some power bars and half a bottle of water. Still, no signal. We set up a makeshift camp. That night was worse than the last. The trees felt closer. Luke swore he saw someone watching us from across the stream, eyes low to the ground, reflective, like an animal's. But they blinked. Humans blink. We took turns sleeping. At some point during my shift, I heard whispering. Not words, just sounds. Soft, wet noises in my ears. I turned around fast. Nothing. Then the trees began shifting, like the forest was breathing. I shook Chris awake. "Do you hear that?" He listened. "No. What?" Just then, Luke screamed. We ran to him. He was standing over the stream, pointing. "I saw Jake again. Over there. Just standing." We crossed the water. No Jake. But there was a trail now. A new one. Moss-free, straight as an arrow through the trees. It hadn't been there before. None of us wanted to follow it. But what choice did we have? We walked. The trees grew denser, taller, blocking out the sky. The temperature dropped again. Eventually, we reached something. Not a building, not a cave. It was a door, freestanding, no walls, just an old wooden door frame in the middle of the forest. A symbol carved into it, the same one from the tree. The eye, or door, or both. The air around it shimmered. It looked wrong. Luke said, "Maybe this is how we get out." Chris shook his head. "This is how people disappear." We argued for a while. No one wanted to admit we were curious. Eventually, Luke reached out and grabbed the handle. The door opened on its own. No creaking, no sound, just darkness on the other side. Not black, deep, like it had depth. We stepped back, but then we heard Jake's voice. This time, it was perfect. No distortion, no hesitation. Just him saying,
"I'm going in,"
Luke said. We grabbed his arm. Annoyed, "Wait, we don't even know what this is." He looked at us, desperate. "If Jake's in there, we can't just leave him." Chris shook his head. "We don't even know if that's Jake." Luke didn't care. He stepped through the door and vanished. Not like he walked into the darkness. He blinked out of sight. No noise, no flash, just gone. Chris and I stood there, stunned. The door remained open. The dark shimmered on the other side like water. I wanted to run. Every part of me screamed to get away, but I couldn't leave Luke, too. We looked at each other, then stepped through. The sensation was disgusted, wrong, like falling and flying at the same time. Cold, wet, a pressure in my skull like my brain was being squeezed. Then, we were standing in a hallway. Stone walls, damp, echoing, no door behind us. Just a long corridor lit by torches. Real flames, but no smoke. Chris whispered, "Where the hell are we?" Footsteps echoed in the distance. We turned a corner and found a mirror. Full length, ornate frame, cracked across the top. It showed us, but not quite. My reflection smiled when I wasn't. Chris's blinked when he didn't. Then the mirror fogged up. Words appeared. "You are not alone." We backed away. Something moved inside the mirror. Not us. Behind us. We spun around. Nothing. Then Chris whispered, "Look." A figure down the hall, standing still, pale, long limbs, no face. Its head tilted slowly, like it was studying us. It took one step forward, then another. We ran, twisting hallways, doors that led to more doors, stairs that looped back. It didn't make sense. Eventually, we found a wooden room, old chairs, a dusty fireplace, and in the corner, Jake, curled up, shaking. Excited, "Jake!" We ran to him. He looked up, and for a moment, he didn't recognize us. Then he burst into tears. "I couldn't find the way out," he sobbed. "I kept hearing you, but it was wrong. It wasn't you. It sounded like you, but twisted." We pulled him up. "We're here now," Chris said. "We'll get out." Then the door behind us slammed shut, and from the mirror above the fireplace, that same sentence reappeared. "You are not alone."
We tried the door, locked. Jake backed into the corner. "It finds you when you're afraid," he whispered. "What does?" Chris asked. Jake didn't answer, just stared at the mirror. The words faded, the glass went black. Then another message appeared, slowly this time, like being written by an invisible hand. "One of you doesn't belong." We froze, annoyed. "What the hell does that mean?" I said. Chris looked at Jake. "We've all been through hell. One of you doesn't belong." It repeated on the walls this time, carved into the wood. Jake shook his head. "This is what it does. It makes you doubt, makes you turn on each other." I reached for the door again, yanking it, still locked. Then we heard it. Whispers, all around, filling the room like a rising tide. They weren't words, just wrong. They made the air feel thick, like breathing syrup. Jake fell to his knees, holding his ears, strained. "It's trying to get in." Then the mirror changed again. Not text this time. A reflection. The room, but empty. No us. Just the door. The fireplace. The same room, but lifeless. Then something stepped into the frame. A version of me, but twisted. Smiling too wide, eyes too black. Behind him, versions of Chris and Jake, all wrong. And behind them, a shadow. Tall, thin, with long arms and a head like a deer skull. Antlers that scraped the top of the mirror. Its mouth moved, but no sound came out. Just static in my head. Then the mirror shattered. Glass flew everywhere. We ducked. When we looked up, the door was open again. But the hallway was different. Stone now and wet, like a sewer. We didn't talk. We ran. Something was chasing us. Not footsteps, but presence. Like the air behind us was being pulled forward.
We ran through tunnels, past flickering lights, past doors that led nowhere. Then we came to a fork. Left or right? We hesitated. That's when we heard Luke's voice. Loudly. "Guys, this way!" It came from the left tunnel. We turned, but Luke was right next to me. He paled. "That's not me." We didn't move. The voice came again, louder, urgent. "Guys, please, hurry!" Chris whispered, shocked. "It sounds just like him." Jake looked at us, resigned. That's what it does. Then the air grew colder. The voice began repeating itself, glitching. Glitching voice. "Guys, hurry, hurry, hurry." A new voice joined in, deeper, scraping, ancient. It said only one word. Deep, ancient voice. "Choose." We didn't choose. We ran straight ahead, not left, not right. Just forward, through a narrow crack between the tunnels. It scraped our shoulders, the walls were slimy, the air reeked of rot and iron. Something screamed behind us. Not a voice, not an animal. A sound that came from inside the walls, vibrating the bones in our chests. We burst into a circular chamber, ceiling high, almost cathedral-like. In the center, a stone altar, and above it, hundreds of bones hanging like wind chimes. They clattered without wind. Jake collapsed to the floor. "This is where it ends," he whispered. "No," I said, "we're getting out." Chris stepped toward the altar. "There's something carved into it." We approached. A symbol. That same eye again. Below it, a phrase, etched deep in the stone. "To leave, one must stay." Jake's voice cracked. "No." We all stared at the words. "No," Jake repeated, "this isn't a trade. It's a trap." Chris looked at him. "You've been here the longest. Did you ever find another way?" Jake didn't answer. Behind us, the tunnel began to breathe, like it was alive, contracting. And from that dark passage came footsteps, wet, deliberate, closer, closer. Then it stopped. We didn't turn around. We didn't need to. Whatever it was waiting. Chris turned to us. "We have to decide. Now." "No," Jake said. "We can fight it. We stick together." I looked at both of them. Then at the altar. The words shimmered again. "To leave, one must stay." Behind us, a sound like cracking bone. The thing was losing patience. Jake stepped forward. "I'll stay." "No," I said. "That's exactly what it wants." Chris shouted, "It's coming!" The room shook. The bones above clattered louder. Something moved in the dark. Jake whispered, "Go." He stepped onto the altar. As soon as he did, the walls pulsed. The darkness behind us shrieked. A door appeared on the far wall. A real one this time. Wooden, glowing faintly. Chris grabbed my arm. "Go! Go now!" We ran. I looked back once. Jake was staring at us, crying, but not moving. The thing in the dark started to reach for him. And then, we were through. We tumbled through the door, into daylight, real sunlight, real air. We were in the woods, just beyond the old campsite. I fell to my knees, gasping. Chris landed beside me. The door was gone. No trace of it. No shimmer, no tunnel, nothing. Just trees, birds, wind. It was over. But Jake was still in there. We sat in silence, listening for any sign. Nothing. Eventually, we got up and walked. Every step felt like a lie, like the forest around us wasn't real, like it could peel away at any moment. But it didn't. We made it back to town, barely speaking. When our parents saw us, they cried. We said Jake got lost, that we searched but couldn't find him. They organized a search party. Helicopters, dogs, weeks of effort. Nothing was found. No tunnels, no altar, no bones. Jake was declared missing. Chris and I made a pact, never speak of what really happened. Not because we didn't want to, but because we couldn't explain it. Time passed. Chris moved away. I stayed. Every year on the anniversary, I hike to the edge of that forest. Never go in. Just wait. Listen. Hope. Last year, I heard something. Not footsteps, not voices. A bell, soft, chiming from deep in the trees. And beneath it, whispering, my name. I ran. This year, something was different. I found something by my tent. A stone, carved with the same eye symbol, and a message scratched into the surface. Still here. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the trees, waiting for something to move, for Jake to step out, for the thing to come back. Nothing happened, but the message stayed, burned into my thoughts. Jake is still there, somewhere in that place that doesn't follow the rules of nature, somewhere in a world that hungers for fear. And part of me knows, one day, I'll have to go back to finish what we started, to bring him home, or join him. I didn't plan on going back, but the forest, it calls. Not with sound, but with absence. I stopped dreaming, stopped eating, even stopped recognizing myself in the mirror. Something's missing. Like I left a part of me behind, and now it's pulling me back. So last week I packed a bag. No tent, no friends, no compass. Just me and the stone Jake left behind. The one marked, still here. I followed the same path we took that first night, through the broken fence, past the old campfire ring, and then further, deeper. The forest changed, became quieter. Even the birds wouldn't follow, and the trees leaned in close, like they were watching. Eventually, I found the clearing, but the cabin, it wasn't there. Just the outline, ashes, charred wood, as if it had burned long ago. Still, I felt it, presence. I knelt down, brushing dirt from the center of the floor. There, under the soil, was the eye symbol, again. I touched it. The ground cracked, opened, and I fell, straight down, into darkness. No pain, just cold air and falling. Then, light. I landed in a corridor, familiar. Same stone walls, same damp air. I was back. It had been waiting. Footsteps echoed behind me. I turned. And there he was. Jake. But not as I remembered. Older, eyes sunken, pale. Wearing the same clothes, but they were worn thin, like they'd aged decades. Jake? I whispered. He nodded slowly. You came back. Tears filled my eyes. I thought you were... He shook his head. Not gone, just trapped. A silence passed between us. Then he said, "It doesn't let you leave unless someone takes your place." I felt my stomach drop. He stepped toward me. "You shouldn't have come." I had to. He smiled, tired, hollow. "You were always the brave one." Suddenly the walls shook. The shadow returned. Long limbs, bone antlers. Watching from the far end of the hall, Jake stepped in front of me. "Run." I didn't move. "Run!" But this time, I didn't.
I didn't run. I took a step forward and grabbed Jake's hand. "If you stay, I stay." He stared at me, eyes wide. "No," he whispered. "You don't understand.
It feeds on that, on sacrifice, on pain. The thing in the shadows crept closer. Its head scraped the ceiling. Its limbs bent the wrong way. Jake tried to push me back, but I held firm. We go together or not at all. The ground trembled. The walls cracked. The creature let out a low, gurgling sound, like it was laughing. Then it stopped. Silence. Jake looked up, confused. What's it doing? I turned around. The mirror had returned, hovering above the altar. This time, it wasn't showing us. It was showing outside. The forest, the real world, a path leading to sunlight, a way out. Jake gasped. It's giving us a choice. Below the mirror, glowing words appeared. One leaves, one remains. I shook my head. No, we're both leaving. But the mirror pulsed, the message changing. Only one. Decide. The hallway darkened. The thing crept forward again. Time was running out. Jake looked at me. Tears welled in his eyes. You have to go. You have a life, a future. So do you, I said. He smiled sadly. Not anymore. He turned toward the mirror, but I stepped in front of him, and I spoke, not to him, but to it. Take me instead. The shadow paused. The whole place shuddered. Then the message shifted again. Balance accepted. Jake screamed, "No!" But the mirror pulled him forward. Light wrapped around him, and then he was gone. The mirror faded. The altar crumbled, and the shadow smiled. It stepped closer to me. I didn't move, didn't scream, just stared into its hollow eyes. I'm not afraid of you, I whispered, and for the first time, it blinked. The creature blinked, slowly, deliberately. Then it stepped back. The tunnel rumbled, and for the first time I saw it recoil, like it wasn't sure what to do with someone who wasn't afraid. It tilted its head, studying me. Then everything began to dissolve. The altar cracked. The walls bled shadows. The ground beneath me shifted like liquid. And I fell again, but this time not down, through time, through memory. I saw the forest, the cabin, Jake, Chris, my childhood, flashes of pain, joy, terror, and then light. I opened my eyes to a sky full of stars. I was lying in the clearing, alone. The forest was quiet, still, and at the edge of the trees, someone stood watching. Jake. He smiled, nodded once, and faded into the dark. I didn't chase him. I knew this time he was really gone, but free. I walked back to town, alone. Nobody asked questions, not this time. Years passed. I went to college, got a job, a life, but I never forgot the forest. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I hear the sound of bones clattering, far off, or see a reflection that doesn't match my movements. And every now and then, a stone appears near my window, etched with a symbol. A reminder that place still exists, and it still wants something. It always will. But I gave it what it needed. Balance. Now it waits. For the next lost soul. For the next group of kids around a campfire. For the next story. So if you're out there, if you're thinking of camping in the woods, and you find a strange path no one remembers, or a clearing that feels too quiet, turn around. Go home. Because once it sees you, once it knows your name, it never forgets. And some places should stay forgotten.
Thank you for listening to I'm Never Going Camping Again. If you made it this far, congrats. You're braver than most.
If this story gave you chills, drop a comment below, share it with a friend, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more haunting tales. And remember, the forest remembers, and some doors never close. Until next time, stay curious and stay alive.